Let's get physical. It's Jordan here, back again with this week's update on all the physical releases coming to the Nintendo Switch. We're finally in February, and we're looking at all the releases from the 3rd until the 7th, first week of February. As always, we're taking a look at all the physical retail releases, all the low print games up for order, some juicy imports, and our community spotlight where you show off your pickups. Remember, if you want to support this little series, leave us a comment with what you have been playing in your backlog and what is the most recent addition to your collection. Personally, well, despite the impending doom of the deadly virus, that ain't stopping the Chinese postal system because Romancing Saga 3 turned up at the doorstep a couple of days ago, at which point I immediately doused it in bleach before quarantining it until now. But here it is. I'm very happy about this classic JRPG being in my collection. It's an import from Asia, but it does have English on the cartridge. If you fancy this yourself, then there is a link in the description below. I'm still looking for those 2 Kemco compilations, but I can't seem to get them here. But anyways, let's head into this week's physicals. On the 4th of February, we're supposed to be seeing the release of Monster Jam Steel Titans. This is due to be the second game in the Monster Jam series after the system also got Crush It a while ago. Now, I think we did get a review code for this like ages ago, but when we played it, we just found it to be a bit too on the boring side to be worth doing a video for. In fact, I actually asked Juan prior to making this very video, just to make sure I was remembering correctly, so I asked him how the game was, and he replied, it was utter shit. In a very similar kind of genre, well, I suppose, is the exhaustingly titled Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game 3. Although if you actually read the box, it's actually even longer than that. But anyways, Juan reviewed this one late last week and found it to be a decent game for those who are fans of the sport, although perhaps a bit on the expensive side. If you want to find out all the details, then I advise you head over to watch his review after this video is over. Code Realize Guardians of Rebirth is getting a physical release this week in North America thanks to Axis Games. This is a visual novel, a fairly old one too, originally a 2014 PlayStation Vita game, and it also released on the Switch in Japan in 2018. Well, anyways, I don't claim to be familiar with the game, but it's an otome, which I'm told is where you are a girl trying to date many different dudes, or something like that. Perhaps it's been slightly disrespectful, considering the Vita version holds a score of 86 on Metacritic, which, you know, say what you want about that site, that has to be a decent sign of quality. Visual novel fans, take notice. Right, that's it for Western retail, but before we move on, don't forget that if you're new here, hit that subscribe button for all the latest Nintendo Switch content. Now this is where we usually head into the low print game section, however it seems that nothing is actually going up for sale this week. But just a quick mention to Strictly Limited, who can't help but keep putting up stuff for order despite taking their sweet time to fulfill past orders. Anyways, on February 23rd, Sisters Royale will be put up for order, but I'll talk more about that in the relevant episode. Likewise, Limited Run Games will be putting up Forgotten Anne up for order next week. Again, I'll talk more about that in next week's episode. So, let's delve into the import section, which is equally scant. But before I do that, just a heads up that all the games mentioned here in today's video, if they take your fancy, then in the description and pinned comment we have links below as to where you can find them for yourself to purchase. They are affiliate links, so any purchase that you make using those links will also help out the SwitchWatch team to keep improving the show for you guys. Right, there's not a whole lot of import goodness this week. We have one release for the Asian regions, at least I hope so this time since it's long been delayed. Is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon? Should be getting its first English physical release this week. Yes, it released a while back in Japan, but without English. The Asian version, however, does have English, and if you'd have asked me a few months ago, I would have said that I was 100% picking this up. But P-Cube, bless them, have announced that they will be producing a physical release for this in the West in May. There's no word on if the West is getting a collector's edition though, so if you fancy that with a soundtrack and an adventures guidebook, plus you can buy a classic 3D mousepad and a wall scroll separately as an add-on too, and links for those are below. Let us know if you're importing this one or waiting for P-Cube's Western release. Let us know. And that's really it in terms of imports this week. Bit of a quiet one. So let's jump into the community spotlight where you guys send me your photos of your recent pickups or collections. As with the import section, some of the games mentioned here or seen here are imports, and so if any of them take your fancy, check the links in the description and pinned comment to find them for yourself. We're going to start off this week's section with Tyson Bailey with this excellent RPG collection. Definitely a couple of those I need adding to my personal collection too. Loving the imports as always. Those top 3 make me very happy indeed. 3 of my favorite imports for sure. I do plan on getting Ni no Kuni and Dragon Quest XI at some point this year too. Save Yourself showed off this nice collection of mostly limited run stuff. Man, I wish those Turok games were standard retail release because I'd have eaten those up. Also nice to see the import of Final Fantasy Maxima. Not many people realize the potential of this import from Asia. It does have English on the cartridge and is one of the essential imports in my opinion. Also, a shout out to Stardew Valley. Japan got a physical release with English, and of course I did want to get this one myself, but since, it's sold out pretty much everywhere, I can't get my hands on it. The places that do sell it, well, they're asking for stupid prices. Hopefully a Western release comes along eventually. It seems like they're sitting on a gold mine with that one. Tony Mara showed off this nicely taken photo. I want to talk about Gigantic Army for a second because I often use the trailer as B-roll footage for some reason. Like right now, behind this picture, that's Gigantic Army. People always ask me, what's that game with the mechs that looks like Contra? It's Gigantic Army. You can order it right now from PlayAsia if you want to find it for yourself. Also, left of Gigantic Army is Caladrius Blaze, a cool shooter that only got a physical in Asia, I believe. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I believe it's a shmup where if you take damage, you start losing your clothes or something stupid like that. It's supposedly quite good though, and it comes with a metal sleeve case, one for shmup fans to check out. Visipon showed off her latest edition in Valkyria Chronicles 4. This is a great, unique strategy game that I highly recommend. It took me a lot of effort and a lot of money to get an English physical release here in China, and it was worth every single penny. Luke Palmer wanted to show everyone this nice little package of Hero Land, the Noble Edition. Taking a look inside, we've got a nice little map, some stickers, soundtrack CD, and a little pouch. That's really nice. And Luke also wanted to show off his collection here. Some great stuff in there. Cheers. Switch Mob wanted to show off this nicely put together photo full of little Switch cartridges. I feel like this is the first time that I've seen ARMS in a picture since we started this community section. No one talks about the game much anymore, and it's a pity since it's pretty cool. Chris Hepburn's weekly photo showing off the Dusk Diver Day 1 edition, I believe. A game that I love despite its roughness. It's a beat-em-up style brawler, and yeah, check out my review if you want to know more about that. I really like it, although some may not. I don't know. Anyways, J-Tin showed off a couple of pictures. This one of some slightly more obscure physicals like Cinemora EX, a shooter with a bit of cinematic and storage thrown in. Killer Queen Black, I want to try that myself sometime once I actually get some friends. And one of my favorites, Katamari Damacy Reroll. If Bandai hadn't sent me a review code, I would have definitely had this in my collection by now. Also, a last-minute addition was the Gianna Sisters game, which I'm told is supposedly pretty decent for a platformer. I'm not personally convinced, but I haven't played it myself, so what do I know? Survivor showed off this lovely photo of 2 beautiful games, Gris and Transistor, pretty much works of art and worth the physical release alone just for the box art. And Ash of Gods, a very recent release in Europe. I'm curious as to how this one is. I'm sure Banner Saga fans may be very happy, or maybe they just think it's a knockoff. I don't know. Answers on a postcard, please. Urias showed off these additions, 2 P-Cube Day 1 editions plus NBA, and an interesting one, Risk of Rain 1 and 2 games together, which seems like nice value. Although I am curious, dude, are both these games on the cartridge or is the first one a download? Would appreciate an answer so everyone can be aware. Swizz showed off some new arrivals, a couple limited run RPGs, Super Beat Sonic, which is supposedly a very competent rhythm game, and, well, Gun Pixies, which is pretty much the only game I've refused to review, because even I, the man with no shame in what he reviews, thought it was a bit too dodgy. I think that says it all. Also, the dude showed off some cool NES controllers. Choco Loco James was nice enough to show off this collector's edition of Astral Chain, which has a surprisingly meaty art book. I'm well jealous. Retro Games showed off this lovely photo, really liking those big boxes up top. Juan will be very happy to see those from Signature Edition games, and hopefully sometime he will get around to unboxing some of you for this very series. He can make a special guest appearance once in a while, I suppose. From last week's episode where Chicken Perm showed off 3 games, well, he traded in the boxless Super Mario Maker 2 for Ni no Kuni and some eShop credit. That seems like a great trade to me. And finally, to end the show, we have Gannicus, who showed off 2 imports for you guys. I'm shocked and happy to see that the Valhalla import love is still going strong. I had no idea so many people imported this excellent visual novel. Plus, Square Enix's action RPG, Oninaki. You can get a Western version of this, but it was really quite limited and it's very easy to miss. But it's fine because you can just import the Japanese version with English on the cartridge. If you fancy these yourself, links are below as always. Thanks ladies and gents, really appreciate you sending in your pictures. If you want to send in your recent additions, either 1 game, or 5 games, or 20 games, it doesn't matter because it's not a competition guys. Any amount I'm happy to see. Send it to me over on Twitter at SoWhatAboutTheGame. Please DM me so I can keep track of it, or you can email it into contactors@switchwatch.co.uk. Just make sure you start the title of the email with Community Spotlight so that I don't miss it. Plus, we have a Discord, which is a nice way for us to chat with you guys. We try to be active on there as much as possible, and it's been great talking with you all. Link to the server is in the description below. Right guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of New Physicals. What has taken your fancy this week? Be sure to check out last week's episode in case you missed it. Check out Juan's review of Supercross 3, which is releasing physically this week. Maybe it's something you'll fancy, who knows? And also James's Bargains video telling you the best places to spend your money in the cheapest way possible. We'll see you guys over there. Take care.